Behind closed doors, the town whispers of a promise wrapped in skepticism, as images of a once celebrated leader resurface to stir buried emotions. Jack stands at the brink, poised between vulnerability and a fierce longing for redemption. Will he dare to share his truth when the world outside trembles with conflict? In the tranquil embrace of a small Florida town, nestled between sprawling oak trees and sun-drenched fields, the air was thick with the scent of salt water and memories. The town, known for its military history, bore scars of once vibrant parades now faded into quiet streets where laughter had become a whisper. Jack Thompson, a 35-year-old veteran with weary eyes and a face softened by regret, lingered at the edges of his dilapidated home, a rickety trailer that mirrored his internal battle. Once a proud soldier, Jack had fallen victim to the haunting shadows of PTSD, isolating himself from a community he once fiercely defended. His rugged exterior betrayed a fragility beneath, a turmoil that spoke volumes in silence. As Jack stared into the distance, he couldn't shake the sense of being abandoned, not just by his fellow citizens, but by the very nation he served. The vibrant greens and blues of the town became a distant backdrop to his pain, while chatter of the upcoming visit from former President Trump buzzed through the few remaining businesses on Main Street. The townsfolk, divided between excitement and skepticism, discussed the implications of Trump's visit, their voices filled with hope, yet tinged with a doubt that clung to the heavy humidity. Among the residents was Maria, a spirited high school teacher who had dedicated herself to supporting veterans. She carried a warmth that enveloped those around her. But even she struggled with the complexities of Jack's situation. As whispers of change floated on the breeze, Jack felt an unwelcome glimmer of hope. Could this visit alter his fate, or would it deepen the chasm of disappointment he felt? Jack Thompson stood in the doorway of his dilapidated bungalow, his gaze sweeping over the quiet streets of Maplewood, Florida. The once vibrant suburb, with its charming porches and manicured lawns, now wore a shroud of neglect. Weeds sprouted defiantly through cracks in sidewalks, and the stale scent of rusted metal lingered from the nearby, long-abandoned car lot. On days like this, when the oppressive heat hung low in the air, he felt the weight of desolation, mirroring his own internal chaos. The hoot of an owl echoed from the nearby woods, grounding him momentarily, yet uncertainty tied his stomach in knots. Whispers of a special visit from former President Trump had swept through the town like wildfire. Jack's heart raced, torn between an ember of hope and the icy grip of mistrust. Excitement buzzed in the air, but skepticism hung heavy. Many residents, especially veterans, were cautious, their past experiences coloring their expectations of government figures. As the town prepared for Trump's arrival, Jack caught sight of his neighbor, a woman with furrowed brows, discussing the visit with others. Unnerved, he turned away, unable to shake the painful memories of his service that surfaced every time he thought about the upcoming event. He felt unworthy, believing no one could understand his struggle. Yet the fluttering whispers of potential change lingered, hinting at a chance for redemption he dared not grasp. For now, the air was thick with tension, a palpable mix of hope and skepticism rippling through the small Florida town as news of Trump's impending visit spread like wildfire. Jack Thompson stood on the porch of his rundown home, the peeling paint mirroring his internal state. His best friend Mike paced beside him, unwavering in his enthusiasm. "Jack, this could be it. This man wants to understand. We could finally be heard." Jack shook his head vehemently, the anger boiling beneath his skin. "You don't get it, Mike. This is a publicity stunt, nothing more. Just another politician making promises he won't keep." The knot in his stomach twisted tighter. Memories of camaraderie and betrayal danced in his mind, taunting him with reminders of what he had lost. "People are excited, Jack. They want change. And you? You're sitting on the sidelines, letting your voice get buried under all that bitterness." Mike's words struck home, igniting a deeper frustration. Jack knew Mike meant well, but the shadows of doubt loomed large. Around them, the townsfolk buzzed, some rallying in support, others whispering in skepticism, painting a divisive picture that mirrored Jack's inner turmoil. A heated debate erupted in the diner, where townspeople exchanged sharp words about the sincerity of the visit. "He just wants our votes," one woman shouted, while a veteran nearby responded. Or maybe he actually cares for once. The noise crescendoed, drowning Jack in a sea of conflicting ideals. I'm not ready for this, Jack confessed to Mike, his voice barely above a whisper. But beneath his trepidation lay a flicker of something new, an urge to reclaim his voice, if only he could find the courage to step forward. As the morning sun diffused its golden rays over the town, anticipation hung thick in the salty air. Jack stood at his dilapidated porch, the old wood creaking underfoot, embodying a tempest of emotions. A crowd gathered before the community center, their faces a mosaic of enthusiasm and skepticism. Just as the noise of whispered conversations began to swell, Trump's motorcade rolled in, and an electric hush enveloped the crowd. These politicians always show up when there's a photo op, a voice sneered from behind Jack, dripping with disdain. Mike nudged him, urging him to engage. Let them hear your story, Jack. You owe it to yourself, to all of us. Jack clenched his fists, grappling with the knot of emotions threatening to unravel him. What difference will it make, Mike? They don't care about me or anyone else here. I'm just a ghost in their spotlight. Yet as he turned to face the crowd, a tremor of determination sparked within him. Maybe it was time to shed the shadows. But what awaited him was a collision of opinions as Trump took the stage, his voice booming with promises while shadows of doubt loomed like storm clouds. Tension crackled when Trump directly requested veterans' experiences. Jack hesitated, heart racing. Do it, Mike whispered, his gaze both encouraging and pleading. Mr. President, Jack braved the microphone. You say you care, but how can we trust that you'll remember us? Once the cameras stop? His voice wavered as doubt clawed at his throat. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement, while others glared. I lost friends in war. I came back to this. He gestured helplessly at the contrast of faded glory around him. It's like being abandoned, forgotten. In that moment, a heaviness fell over the assembly as Jack's vulnerability laid bare. The rift in the audience became palpable, with eyes wide in shock and realization. As Jack's pleas echoed, would the town finally rally around their own, or would divisions splinter their last chance at healing? As the town hall meeting raged on, voices clashed like thunder, each resident a storm cloud of opinion. Jack stood at the front, the weight of their eyes pressing down on him, hearts and hopes pinned on the unfathomable abyss of his vulnerability. He felt raw, stripped of pretense, as he struggled to articulate his vision amidst the chaos. Listen! Jack's voice overcame the din, crackling with a fierceness he didn't know he possessed. I'm no politician. I'm just a guy who was broken. Like you. Like many of us in this room. Silence fell, the noise of conflict momentarily silenced by the truth in his tone. But if we can't help each other heal, then what was the sacrifice for? Trump, standing nearby, nodded, his expression unexpectedly earnest. Jack's right. We can't turn our backs on those who've served this country. Together we can craft something from these ashes. Not just for Jack, but for every veteran who feels alone. The weight of his words settled in the air, a stillness that begged for collective action rather than division. Yet resistance simmered beneath. What do you know about our struggles? A grizzled voice shot back from the crowd. You come here. You don't even live in this town. Jack swallowed hard, the tension coiling in his gut. And who do we think you are if you refuse to let somebody try? An ache surged within him, an anger born from years of feeling unseen. You don't get to cast doubt when the only reason I'm standing here is to fight for us. It wasn't just his fight anymore. It was theirs too, and it struck him with a clarity that sliced through the fog of despair. Over the noise, a realization blossomed. Change began not with one voice, but with collective resolve. And as the chatter slowly transformed into contemplative murmurs, Jack felt the tide shift. This was the turning point, both for him and the community, igniting a spark of hope. Let's unite, or we risk losing everything together, he urged, his voice steady. Together we can build something beautiful from this mess. The room, still charged with emotion, seemed ripe for possibility, a community poised for rebirth. As the townsfolk celebrated the launch of the rehabilitation program, Jack stood at the center of a new community spirit, bustling with hope and solidarity. The emotional scars of battle remained, but they no longer defined him. He exchanged hugs and handshakes, receiving genuine gratitude from veterans who once echoed his isolation. "I never thought this day would come," Mike said, his eyes glistening. Jack nodded, feeling the weight lift as their shared struggles transformed into collective strength. Trump's handshake was more than a gesture. It symbolized unity born from vulnerability. The dialogue that once divided them had sparked understanding. Jack's story, once a burden, became a beacon, teaching the value of empathy and the strength found in connection. In the heart of Florida, Jack finally felt at home, not just in his surroundings, but within himself. They had discovered the power of community, and he realized that rebirth wasn't merely about rising, it was about rising together.